Hello. Today I'm going to show you how to cut up a t-shirt and turn it into a funky infinity scarf. The two things you'll need are a good pair of scissors and a t-shirt. Pull one out of your closet or go to the thrift store. I usually like to look in the men's section for a large shirt. The bigger the shirt is, the longer it will hang down and the chunkier it will be around your neck. The one thing to make sure of in picking out your shirt is that it has a little bit of stretch, preferably going all directions. That really affects the look in the end. All right, we're ready to get started. So once your t-shirt is clean, the first thing you do are cut off all the excess parts. You want to get rid of the sleeves, the collar, the seam above the shoulder, and the bottom band. Once you have gotten your shirt prepped, we'll pretend this one is, you lay your shirt out flat, and you want to get the side seams lined up as much as possible and the two pieces of material on the bottom. And then fold your shirt up. I usually make this first fold an inch to 1.5 inches wide. And once you make a scarf or two, you'll figure out how thick you like to make your cuts once you see what look it creates. And now we begin cutting. You're just going to cut strips all the way across the bottom of the shirt, making sure not to cut all the way through the bottom. You want those to remain together. So you can see how close together mine are. Again, you'll figure out how you like your style. And you'll continue that all the way across the shirt. Once you've completed that row, you're going to fold your shirt up again. I usually make this fold give a thicker layer than I did the last row. Again, just making sure to line things up and the shirt looks pretty even. And on this row, a lot of times I'll alternate the length of the cuts that I make. Make sure your scissors are sharp, that really helps. So you can see I'm making a long one and a short one. Sometimes I'll even kind of do a couple of each. Again, you'll figure out the style that you like. The one thing to be sure is that you don't cut so far up that you join the two rows together. You want these strips to remain solid. And again, you'll cut all the way across, and then when that row is done, you'll fold your shirt up again. And this row, you'll do the same as you did the first row. So again, I leave about 1 inch, 1.5 inches, and make your cuts all the way across. Now, how many rows you do is going to depend on how long your shirt is. This one is long enough that I would do at least 4 rows, possibly even 5. But basically you just keep folding the shirt and cutting for as many rows as you want to make. And I'll kind of show you what that looks like. This shirt has all of its rows completed, and it looks like I did 4 rows here. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, I did 5. 5 rows here. And then I left room at the bottom to cut strips. And sometimes I would have stopped a little higher up if I want longer fringe on the bottom. So once those initial rows are cut, that's when you come in and you cut your fringe. So turning the t-shirt around the other direction. You can see I've already cut some strips here. And Basically, you just want to keep both sides of the t-shirt together. And then cut, and again make sure that you leave a little bit of space. It's a good rule to leave about a half an inch between, at least a half an inch between any of the rows. Sometimes what can happen is the side that you're working on, it looks like you've given space, and then when you're done with the row you notice that on the other side you might have cut all the way through. So really giving at least a half an inch will avoid you cutting through and making your strips loose. So then you would continue cutting the fringe all the way to the end of the shirt. Now once all of that is cut, then you're going to go in and braid a couple of the rows. I usually braid the first row that I started cutting, and actually before you start braiding, the first thing you want to do is cut a strip of fabric off of the shirt, or find a piece of fabric from somewhere else, or a ribbon or a thread, something to tie this row off once you've completed it. So the braiding, you're going to take two strips that are next to each other in your hand and put one strip underneath the other. Now go back to the opposite side and grab the next strip in line and put that one underneath the first one. And then just keep repeating that process, grabbing the next strip, putting it through the loop. Next strip, putting it through the loop. Next strip. And you'll do that all the way around. And once you make your way around, that's when you'll use that little strip of fabric to tie the whole thing off. So we'll pretend that I've gotten there. And you'll just get 2 or 3 of the strips in your hand. And this is usually how I tie it off. You can be creative and find other ways. And then I usually just leave that dangling. It kind of goes with the fringe on the bottom of the scarf. So once you've completed your row of braiding, then stretch out the whole thing. And that's what it looks like in the end. So cutting these initial strips longer or shorter will give you thicker or thinner braid effects here. And then I'll typically do the braiding to the 3rd row as well, and the 5th if I have one, or sometimes I might alternate around, again something to play with. But I'll braid this row as well. And then when that's completed, this is what it looks like. And usually after I'm done with all my braiding, then I like to go and stretch everything out. Just pulling the braids and stretching the open rows. And then with the fringe too, it has a nice effect when you stretch all of those little strips out. And as you can see, I'll even put little knots in the fringe sometimes, or add little beads. Play with that however you will. And this is the end effect. And this is one way it can look when you're wearing it. Alright, thanks so much for joining. I hope you have fun playing with this craft. Have a creative week.